Hello, cherished listeners. Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, a warm greeting to you too. We're so glad you've joined us for another journey into the world of storytelling. Please take a moment to subscribe if you haven't already, and do let us know in the comments where you're retuning in from. We love hearing from you. Now, settle in, get cozy, and let's dive into The Dog Who Lived on Memories. In a quiet, aging house nestled at the end of a winding, forgotten lane lived an old dog named Buster. His fur, once the color of burnished copper, was now a mottled silver, and his paws, once swift and eager, moved with a thoughtful, deliberate pace. Buster wasn't just any old dog. He was a sentinel of the past, a curator of moments, for Buster lived on memories. The house was his sanctuary, a vast, echoing chamber filled not with people, but with the shimmering, intangible echoes of lives once lived within its walls. Each day, Buster would embark on his silent ritual, moving from room to room, his keen senses not searching for physical presence, but for the ethereal threads of remembrance. He'd settle on a worn rug in the living room, close his ancient eyes, and allow the torrent of the past to wash over him. He'd recall the warmth of a child's laughter, a sound so clear it felt as though the very air vibrated with joy. He'd feel the gentle brush of a hand against his head, a phantom touch that still brought a comforting pressure to his scalp. The scent of freshly baked cookies, long since vanished from the kitchen, would fill his nostrils with such vividness that his tail would give a weak, involuntary thump against the floorboards. Buster didn't just remember, he relived. His world was a kaleidoscope of past joys, sorrows softened by time, and routines etched into his very being. The current silence of the house, the dust motes dancing in sunbeams through grimy windows, these were mere backdrops to the vibrant theater of his mind. For Buster, hunger wasn't just for kibble. It was for the feeling of a full belly after a shared family meal, the clinking of forks, the murmurs of conversation. Thirst wasn't just for water. It was for the cool, refreshing feeling of lapping from his bowl on a sweltering summer's day, with the distant buzz of lawnmowers and children's shouts. Each memory was a morsel, sustaining him, filling the void left by absence. He wasn't sad, not precisely. Sadness was a feeling that required a present moment to contrast with a past one. Buster's present asterisk was asterisk the past. He existed in a perpetual golden hour, a twilight realm where the sun never truly set on the moments that mattered most. The hum of the refrigerator, the creak of the floorboards, the distant chirping of birds, these sounds were woven into the fabric of his memories, not distinct events, but parts of the greater tapestry of what once was. He would often lie by the fireplace, cold and empty now, and conjure the crackle and warmth of a roaring fire, the scent of burning wood, the soft glow on the faces of his beloved humans. In these moments, he was not alone. He was surrounded, cherished, and utterly content. This was Buster's life, a solitary existence rich with the echoes of love, a testament to the enduring power of memory. Buster's days unfolded in a series of these vivid recollections, each one a thread in the intricate tapestry of his existence. One of his most cherished memories was that of the sunbeam in the old living room. Every afternoon, precisely between 2 and 4 o'clock, a golden shaft of light would pierce the dusty window and fall upon a specific spot on the worn Persian rug. In the present, the sunbeam still appeared, a pale, anemic echo of its former glory, but in Buster's memory, it was a vibrant, living thing. He would remember stretching out, his younger self a sleek, energetic creature, feeling the profound, almost spiritual warmth soak into his bones. The dust motes in that memory weren't just specks. They were tiny dancing galaxies illuminated by the benevolent sun. He'd recall the subtle scent of warm wool from the rug, mingled with the faint, comforting aroma of his own fur baking in the light. Sometimes a child's small, nimble fingers would tickle his belly as he lay there, eliciting a contented groan from him, a memory so real he could almost feel the phantom touch now. Another favorite was the sound of the old record player. It sat silent and still in the corner now, a relic, but in Buster's mind, its needle would drop, and a symphony of gentle jazz or classical melodies would fill the air. He remembered curling up at his human's feet, the vibrations of the music humming through the floorboards, a soothing rhythm that lulled him into a peaceful slumber. The music wasn't just sound, it was a feeling of togetherness, of shared quietude, of the world outside momentarily fading into insignificance. The rich, woody scent of the turntable's cabinet, the faint smell of old paper from the album sleeves, these were details his mind meticulously preserved. He would often hear his human humming along, a low, tuneless sound that was music to Buster's ears. These weren't mere fleeting images. They were full sensory immersions. He could taste the cool water from the garden hose on a hot day, feel the rough texture of the brick path beneath his paws as he trotted alongside his family, and hear the distinct chirp of a robin that nested in the oak tree outside the kitchen window. Each memory was a mini world, complete with its own atmosphere, its own emotional resonance. He had cataloged them all, organized them by season, by human, by emotion. There were the summer afternoon memories, bright and languid. The winter evening memories, warm and cozy. The puppy mischief memories, full of playful energy and gentle reprimands. He revisited them selectively, choosing the memory that best suited his mood, much like a person choosing a book from a beloved library. If he felt a pang of phantom hunger, he'd choose the memory of a delicious dinner. If a chill settled in the empty house, he'd conjure the warmth of a fire. This internal world was his refuge, his sustenance, his entire universe. He spent hours, days, years, meticulously tending to this garden of the past, ensuring that no detail was lost, no sensation dulled. It was his most important task, his solemn duty, for these memories were all that remained of the love that once filled this house. An old, gentle-faced golden retriever, among the myriad memories Buster cherished, the scents were perhaps the most potent. A particular aroma could unlock an entire cascade of related recollections, transporting him instantly across the chasm of time. The scent of old wood polish, for instance, always brought him back to Saturday mornings when the house buzzed with activity. He remembered the rhythmic squeak of a duster against furniture, the faint, sweet smell of the cleaning solution, and the accompanying clatter of breakfast dishes in the kitchen. In his mind, he could still feel the cool, freshly polished surface of the coffee table against his nose as he sniffed curiously, only to be gently shooed away by a laughing hand. Then there was the unique, comforting scent of his human, a blend of their favorite perfume, the faint aroma of freshly laundered clothes, and an underlying, indefinable warmth that was uniquely theirs. He'd lie on the worn armchair in the living room, the one that still retained a faint impression of a human form, and inhale deeply. In his memory, the armchair wasn't just a piece of furniture. It was a warm, welcoming lap. He could feel the familiar weight of a hand stroking his fur, hear the soft murmurs of affection, and feel the gentle rise and fall of their chest as they breathed. This memory wasn't just visual or auditory. It was deeply visceral, a full-body experience of comfort and belonging. The faint, sweet scent of roses from the garden, carried on a summer breeze, would trigger memories of playful chases among the flower beds, the soft earth yielding beneath his paws, and the sheer exhilaration of bounding through sun-dappled greenery. He recalled the sensation of cool, damp grass on his belly as he rolled, utterly carefree, and the taste of a fallen rose petal, surprisingly bitter yet intriguing. These weren't just smells. They were gateways to entire emotional landscapes. Even the scent of rain, fresh and clean, could conjure up images of cozy evenings indoors, the drumming of droplets against the window pane, and the shared warmth of a blanket. He remembered watching the rain fall, mesmerized by the streaks on the glass, feeling safe and secure within the walls of his home, surrounded by his family. These were the foundational memories, the ones that formed the bedrock of his emotional sustenance. They were so strong, so deeply ingrained, that they felt more real than the quiet, empty rooms around him. Sometimes he would even smell the fear he felt as a young pup during a loud thunderstorm, only to be quickly comforted by a reassuring hug. That memory, though initially unsettling, always ended with warmth and safety, a reminder of the protection he once knew. These sensory imprints were more than just nostalgia. They were his anchor, his food, his water. They were the very essence of home for Buster, a home that existed primarily within the confines of his own mind. He believed in his simple canine way that as long as he could recall these sensations, his humans weren't truly gone. They were simply waiting just beyond the veil of his senses, ready to be conjured by a scent, a touch, a sound from the past. Despite the richness of his internal world, there were moments when the present insisted on asserting itself, like an unwelcome guest. These were the times when Buster would catch a glimpse of his reflection in a dark window pane, seeing not the vibrant pup of his memories, but an old silver-muzzled dog, alone amidst the gathering dust. The silence, usually a canvas for his memories, would sometimes stretch, becoming too vast, too absolute. It was in these elongated silences that a subtle tremor of loneliness would ripple through his carefully constructed reality. He would lie by the front door, remembering the joyous cacophony of his humans returning home, the jingling of keys, the excited greetings, the rustle of grocery bags. In his mind, he could hear the familiar footsteps approaching, feel the vibrations of their arrival. But then, the memory would fade, and all that remained was the quiet click of the old house settling, the distant whisper of the wind outside. It was a silence that spoke volumes, a stark reminder of what was no longer there. He wasn't sad in the way a human might be, with tears or overt grief. His sadness was a dull ache, a subtle emptiness that no memory, however vivid, could fully fill. It was the absence of a real, present touch, the lack of a current voice to respond to his soft whimpers, the missing warmth of a body next to him on the sofa. These were the shadows on the wall of his mind, fleeting yet insistent, reminding him that his cherished past was, indeed, just that, the past. Sometimes a particularly strong gust of wind would rattle the old window panes, and he'd instinctively perk his ears, half expecting a human voice to reassure him. The lack of a response, the continued stillness, would leave a hollow echo in his chest. He would then retreat deeper into his memories, seeking solace in the comfort of a bygone era, trying to overwrite the stark reality with the vibrant hues of yesterday. He understood in his canine way that the house was empty. He saw the dust, the peeling paint, the fading wallpaper. He smelled the musty scent of disuse beneath the faint, lingering aromas of his memories. He knew, yet he chose to live in the vibrant then rather than the desolate now. It was a coping mechanism, a gentle form of self-preservation. But the shadows were growing longer, the echoes of the past occasionally faltered, and the quiet loneliness, though usually a faint background hum, sometimes swelled to a mournful dirge. He would sometimes sit and stare at the closed door of what used to be a child's room, a room brimming with the most boisterous and joyful of his memories. He'd picture the bright colors, the scattered toys, the excited squeals. But the door remained closed, the room within silent, a stark symbol of the impenetrable barrier between his memory world and the undeniable reality of his solitary existence. These moments were rare, but they were growing more frequent, like tiny cracks appearing in a beloved old painting. The house itself was a silent storyteller, each creak of a floorboard, each draft whistling through a gap in the window frame, a whisper of the past. Buster had been born in this house, a tiny, squirming bundle of fur, surrounded by the warmth and chaos of a bustling family. He had watched the children grow, from toddlers taking their first wobbly steps to teenagers with their own secrets and dreams. He had been a constant presence, a furry shadow, through countless birthdays, holidays, and ordinary Tuesday evenings. His humans, a kind couple who had welcomed him into their lives, had aged gracefully within these walls, their laughter and quiet conversations forming the soundtrack of Buster's long life. Now, the music had stopped. The house, once vibrant with life, was a monument to what was, a vessel holding only Buster and his precious cargo of memories. He didn't know precisely where his humans had gone. One day, they simply hadn't returned. The first few days were filled with anxious waiting, ears perked, tail thumping hopefully at every distant sound. Then the waiting turned into a quiet acceptance, an understanding that something fundamental had shifted. He knew they wouldn't be coming back in the way they once did. Yet, in his mind, they were always there. He saw them tending the garden, their figures outlined against the setting sun. He heard them reading stories aloud in the evening, their voices soft and soothing. He felt their presence as he moved through the house, a constant, comforting awareness that defied the physical emptiness. The whispers of the past were not just his own recollections. They were imprinted on the very fabric of the house. The faint, lingering scent of his human's pipe tobacco in the study, the worn patch on the sofa where they always sat, the faint scratch marks on the kitchen door from his own eager paws as a pup. These were all tangible reminders, physical manifestations of the memories he held so dear. He would often lie in the master bedroom on the cool, unmade bed and conjure the memory of his human parents, sleeping soundly, their gentle breathing filling the room. He'd remember snuggling at their feet, feeling utterly safe and loved. The absence of their physical forms now was a stark void, but his memory filled it, creating a warmth that pushed back against the chill of the empty room. He was the last guardian of their legacy, the sole keeper of their story within these walls. Every memory he revisited was a tribute, a way of keeping them alive, if only for himself. He saw himself not as abandoned, but as chosen to remember, to honor, to carry forward the light of their lives. The outside world, with its hurried pace and unfamiliar scents, held no appeal for him. Why venture out when his entire universe, his entire family, resided within the safety and comfort of his own mind, within these familiar hallowed walls? He was content, for the most part, to exist in this beautiful, bittersweet limbo, sustained by the whispers of a past that refused to truly fade. An old, gentle-faced golden retriever, one crisp autumn morning, as Buster settled into his usual spot by the kitchen window, ready to conjure the memory of the children's boisterous breakfast, something felt subtly wrong. He closed his eyes, eager for the clatter of bowls, the sweet scent of pancakes, the cheerful chatter. But the image that flickered in his mind was duller than usual, the colors muted, the sounds a little muffled. It was like looking at a beloved old photograph that had begun to fade, its edges blurring, its vibrancy leaching away. A prickle of unease, unfamiliar and unwelcome, stirred in Buster's chest. He tried again, focusing harder, willing the memory to regain its sharp clarity. He remembered the specific shade of yellow on the kitchen walls, the way the morning sun slanted across the table, illuminating dust motes and tiny crumbs. He remembered the specific pattern on the cereal boxes, the excited shouts of more milk. But the yellow was now a hazy cream, the sun's slant less defined, and the shouts sounded distant, as if coming from behind a thick pane of glass. This wasn't just a momentary lapse. It was a persistent dullness, a worrying loss of detail. Buster felt a pang of fear, a primal instinctual fear he hadn't experienced in years. His memories were his lifeblood, his very essence. What would happen if they began to fade? He spent the rest of the morning frantically revisiting his most cherished recollections, like a frantic librarian checking his most valuable books. The sunbeam memory, usually so warm and golden, now had a slightly pale cast. The scent of his human's perfume, usually so distinct, seemed to waver, like smoke dissipating in the air. Even the feeling of a gentle hand stroking his fur felt less substantial, more like a ghost of a touch than a full sensation. He couldn't understand why this was happening. Had he done something wrong? Was he forgetting how to remember? The concept was terrifying. He tried to focus on a memory of a specific walk in the park, the crunch of fallen leaves underfoot, the crisp autumn air. He could recall the visual, the sounds, even the scent of damp earth and decaying foliage. But the crunch felt less real, the air less invigorating, the scent less sharp. It was as if a thin, invisible veil had descended over his internal world, muting its brilliance. For the first time in a very long time, Buster felt truly vulnerable. He relied on these memories for his comfort, his peace, his very sense of self. To have them diminish, even slightly, was akin to losing a part of himself. He whimpered softly, a sound that echoed in the quiet house, a sound of genuine distress that went unheard by any living soul. He lay down by the fireplace, the place where he often conjured warmth and companionship, but even that memory felt a little colder, a little more distant. The vibrant living tapestry of his past was beginning to unravel, thread by precious thread, and Buster, the old guardian of memories, didn't know how to mend it. The house, an old Victorian with high ceilings and intricate woodwork, had always been a sturdy vessel for Buster's memories. But now, it too seemed to be succumbing to the relentless march of time, mirroring the fading hues of Buster's internal world. Dust, once merely a backdrop to the vibrant scenes of his past, now seemed to cling more thickly to every surface, obscuring the faint outlines of his recollections. Cobwebs, delicate yet persistent, draped themselves across forgotten corners, their ghostly presence a stark contrast to the lively, bustling scenes he tried to conjure. The wallpaper, once a cheerful floral pattern, had begun to peel in places, curling away from the walls like old parchment, revealing the faded plaster beneath. The paint on the windowsills was chipped and cracked, and the windows themselves, once clear conduits for sunlight, were now permanently streaked with grime, making even the real sunbeams appear weak and wan. Buster noticed these changes with a growing sense of disquiet. He would often lie on the floor, observing a particular patch of sunlight that fell across the worn floorboards. He remembered the children playing here, their toys scattered, their laughter echoing. In his memory, the floorboards were polished and gleamed with a rich luster. Now, they were dull, scratched, and splintered in places. The contrast was stark, and it was becoming harder to overlay the vibrant memory onto the decaying reality. The scent of must and disuse, always present but usually overshadowed by the stronger aromas of his past, was now more pronounced. It mingled with the faint, lingering vestiges of old spices from the kitchen, the ghostly perfume from the bedroom, creating a melancholic blend that tugged at his heart. It was the smell of absence, of time passing, of things falling into disrepair. He tried to ignore it, to focus solely on the rich, complex aromas of his past. But the musty present kept creeping in, a discordant note in his carefully curated symphony of memories. The once familiar squeaks and groans of the house, which he had always associated with the comforting sounds of daily life, now seemed more like mournful sighs. The wind whistling through cracks was not just a breeze. It felt like the house itself was lamenting its emptiness, its lost purpose. Buster would sometimes stand in the hallway, looking down the long corridor, and try to conjure the image of his humans walking towards him, their faces smiling, their arms outstretched. He could almost see them, almost hear their voices. But then the peeling wallpaper would catch his eye, or the faint, musty smell of the old carpet would waft up, and the illusion would shatter, leaving him alone in the quiet, decaying space. The physical decay of his home was accelerating, and with it, the erosion of his internal sanctuary. The dust of time was not just settling on the furniture, it was settling on his memories, dulling their shine, making them harder to grasp. Buster felt a growing sense of urgency, a desperate need to preserve what was slipping away, but he didn't know how. He was just an old dog, and the forces of time felt insurmountable. One afternoon, as Buster lay in the living room, trying to recall the exact shade of crimson of his his favorite armchair, a memory that now seemed stubbornly muted, a new sensation pierced through his carefully constructed world. It wasn't a memory, nor was it the familiar creak of the house. It was a sharp, distinct tap, tap, tap against the window pane. Buster's ears, usually attuned to the echoes of the past, perked up, his head cocking to one side. The sound was insistent, rhythmic, and utterly new in its present-day clarity. He slowly pushed himself up, his old bones protesting, and padded towards the window. The window, usually a blurry canvas for his internal projections, now presented a clear, albeit dusty, view of the outside world. There, perched on the sill, was a small, vibrant robin. Its tiny beak was rapping against the glass, its bright, bead-like eyes peering intently into the gloom of the room. It was a splash of vivid, undeniable life against the backdrop of his fading world. Buster watched, mesmerized. He had seen birds in his memories, of course, the robins in the garden, the sparrows flitting about, but this bird was asterisk, real asterisk. Its feathers were a startlingly bright red, its movements quick and jerky, full of an energy that felt alien to the quiet stagnation of his home. The tap, tap, tap continued, a tiny, urgent summons. For a moment, Buster felt a flicker of annoyance. This creature was intruding on his sacred space, disrupting his concentration, pulling him away from the important work of remembering. But beneath the annoyance, a different feeling stirred, a faint, almost imperceptible spark of curiosity. He hadn't felt true, present-moment curiosity in years. His world had been so complete within his mind that the outside held no allure. Now, this small, persistent bird was challenging his self-imposed isolation. He pressed his nose against the cool glass, his breath fogging a small patch. The robin, undeterred, simply hopped a little closer, its head tilted, as if observing him with equal fascination. Its tiny chirps, though soft, were sharp and clear, cutting through the silence of the house. They weren't the comforting, familiar chirps of his remembered birds. They were new, raw, and undeniably present. This was a sensation that couldn't be ignored, couldn't be overlaid with a memory. It was happening asterisk now, asterisk. The robin eventually flew off, a flash of red against the muted autumn sky, leaving Buster standing alone by the window. But the tap, 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 and the vivid image of its bright eyes lingered, a persistent ripple in the placid waters of his memory-filled existence. It was a tiny crack in his carefully constructed reality, a whisper from a world he had long forgotten existed. And for the first time in a very long time, Buster felt a faint pull towards something beyond the confines of his own mind, a fleeting, almost imperceptible desire to know more about the world that existed outside his window. The robin's visit had planted a seed of curiosity in Buster's old heart, a seed that, though small, began to sprout in the fertile ground of his routine. He found himself returning to the window more frequently, not to gaze through it as a portal to his past, but to look out at the actual, undeniable present. He would watch the leaves, now truly golden and russet, dancing in the breeze, no longer just the remembered rustle of autumn walks. He observed a squirrel bearing nuts with frantic energy, its bushy tail twitching, a creature utterly absorbed in its present task, oblivious to any past it might have had. These were not memories. They were raw, unfiltered moments. The world outside, once a vague, indistinct blur beyond the edges of his internal landscape, was slowly beginning to sharpen into focus. He noticed the subtle variations in the sky's color throughout the day, the way the clouds scudded across the vast expanse, forming ever-changing shapes. He heard the distant hum of traffic, a sound he had long dismissed as background noise, now registering as a complex symphony of movement and activity. These present-day observations, however brief, created a subtle dissonance in Buster's memory-centric world. When he tried to conjure a memory of the garden, vibrant with summer blooms, his mind would also present him with the image of the garden now asterisk, sparse and fading. The contrast was unsettling, making it harder for him to fully immerse himself in the past. The vividness of his recollections seemed to be further challenged by the undeniable reality of the present. He would close his eyes, attempting to block out the insistent intrusion of the now, but the images of the red robin, the busy squirrel, the dancing leaves would stubbornly persist like stubborn afterimages. His internal world, once a perfectly controlled environment, was now experiencing interference. This wasn't necessarily a bad feeling, not entirely. It was unsettling, yes, but also stimulating. It was a new kind of mental exercise, a different way of experiencing the world. He felt a faint stirring of something akin to purpose, a new reason to pay attention. He found himself sniffing at the cracks under the front door, catching faint whiffs of the outside world, damp earth, decaying leaves, the exhaust of a passing car, the faint, intriguing scent of other animals. These were not the comforting, familiar scents of his past. They were sharp, alien, and exciting in their newness. The quiet house, once a haven, now felt a little more like a cage, albeit a very comfortable one. The lure of the unknown, a sensation he hadn't felt since his puppyhood, was beginning to tug at his old instincts. He was still the guardian of memories, but now, a tiny, almost imperceptible part of him was also a reluctant explorer, an accidental observer of a world he had long chosen to ignore. The balance was shifting ever so slightly, and Buster, though initially resistant, was slowly, cautiously, beginning to lean towards the present. With a deep, shaky breath, Buster nudged the back door open further with his nose. He took a tentative step onto the porch, his paws sinking slightly into the damp mat. The air hit him, a shocking mosaic of cold, damp earth, wood smoke, and 1,000 other unfamiliar scents that made his old senses reel. It was overwhelming, a sensory explosion after years of the muted, filtered world of his memories. He paused, his tail held low, his body tense. The garden, once a familiar setting for his recollections, now appeared alien. The rose bushes, vibrant in his memory, were now stark, thorny skeletons. The lawn, once a lush carpet, was patchy and overgrown. But it was real. Every detail, every imperfection was tangible and immediate. He carefully descended the 2 worn steps, his claws scraping softly on the concrete. The cold, rough texture of the overgrown grass beneath his paws was a sensation he hadn't truly felt in years. He remembered the feeling, of course, but this was different. Sharper, more immediate, unsoftened by the gentle haze of nostalgia. He took another step, then another, moving towards the open gate, drawn by an irresistible force. Each step was a small victory, a tiny act of defiance against the comfortable inertia of his past. The world beyond the gate slowly revealed itself. The lane, usually just a distant hum in his memory, was a narrow gravel path bordered by tall, whispering trees. The trees themselves were magnificent, their bare branches reaching like skeletal fingers towards the gray sky. He could hear the rustle of leaves underfoot, the distinct calls of unseen birds, the distant, muffled sound of human voices. It was a cacophony, a symphony of the present, and it was both thrilling and terrifying. He reached the gate, nudging it open wider with his nose. The world stretched out before him, a vast, complex tapestry of sights, sounds, and smells he had consciously ignored for so long. A small, vibrant patch of moss grew on the gatepost, its tiny, emerald leaves glistening with dew. He sniffed at it, detecting the earthy, slightly metallic scent of damp stone and growing things. It was a detail he would never have noticed within the confines of his memory world. He took a hesitant step onto the gravel lane. The sharp, shifting stones beneath his paws were a stark contrast to the smooth floorboards of the house. He looked back at the house, a comforting fortress against the unknown, now seeming strangely distant, almost irrelevant. For a moment, a wave of fear washed over him, and he almost retreated, almost turned back to the familiar embrace of his memories. But then a new scent drifted towards him, something sweet and faintly savory, carried on the breeze. It was unfamiliar, yet strangely alluring. It was the scent of life, of activity, of the ongoing world. With a renewed sense of purpose, Buster pushed through the gate, leaving the echoes of his past behind, taking his first tentative steps into the vast, vibrant, and utterly real world outside. Buster's first few moments on the lane were a dizzying assault on his senses. The air was colder than he remembered, sharper, carrying 1,000 foreign smells. He sniffed at every patch of grass, every fallen leaf, trying to categorize and understand this deluge of information. The ground was uneven, a mix of rough gravel, damp earth, and patches of stubborn weeds, making his old paws ache with the unfamiliar effort. He shuffled along, his tail still low, his body a question mark of caution. He was overwhelmed by the sheer volume of newness, a world so much more textured and noisy than his internal sanctuary. He heard distant laughter, the rumble of an unseen vehicle, the distinct chirping of a flock of birds overhead. It was a symphony without a conductor, a chaotic masterpiece that both thrilled and unnerved him. Suddenly, a jarring roar shattered the relative quiet. A large, dark shape materialized around the bend, moving with terrifying speed. It was a car, an old, noisy pickup truck, its engine backfiring as it rattled down the lane. Buster froze, his heart leaping into his throat. He had seen cars in his memories, of course, parked gently in the driveway or passing quietly on a distant road, but this was different. This was loud, immediate, and utterly menacing. The truck roared past, a blur of metal and sound, kicking up a cloud of dust and sending a rush of wind in its wake. Buster yelped, a high, frightened sound he hadn't made since puppyhood. He stumbled backwards, tripping over his own paws, and landed with a soft thud in a patch of dry leaves. His whole body trembled, a primal fear seizing him. This was the reality of the outside world, unpredictable, sometimes harsh, and utterly unforgiving. He lay there for a moment, panting, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and confusion. The dust settled, the roar of the truck faded into the distance, leaving only the sound of his own ragged breathing. He had almost forgotten what real fear felt like, the kind that seized your body and made your instincts scream. In his memories, even the scary moments were softened by the knowledge of their eventual resolution, by the comfort that always followed. Here, there was no immediate comfort, no familiar hand to reassure him. The experience was raw, unmediated. He slowly pushed himself up, his muscles still quivering. The desire to retreat, to run back to the safety of his quiet, empty house, was overwhelming. He pictured the familiar worn rug, the sunbeam, the comforting silence that allowed his memories to flourish. It was a powerful siren song pulling him back to the known. But then he remembered the vibrant red robin, the busy squirrel, the dancing leaves. He remembered the new, intriguing scents. He had faced a scare, yes, but he had also experienced something new, something undeniably real. He took another shaky breath, the dust still tickling his nose. He was still alive. He was still here. The world outside was indeed dangerous, but it was also alive, pulsing with a raw energy that was undeniably captivating. The brush with reality, though frightening, had not completely deterred him. Instead, it had sharpened his senses, made him more aware, more present. He would proceed with caution, yes, but he would not retreat. Not yet. Still trembling slightly from his encounter with the roaring truck, Buster continued his slow, cautious journey down the lane. The gravel crunched under his paws with every step, a constant reminder of the raw, uneven terrain. He kept to the side of the road, his head low, his senses on high alert, now acutely aware of every sound, every movement. He sniffed cautiously at a patch of wildflowers growing by the roadside, their delicate scent a stark contrast to the metallic tang of the passing truck. It was a small moment of beauty in a world that had just shown him its harsher side. He was a creature of habit and routine, and this impromptu adventure was testing the very limits of his comfort zone. The sun, which had been hidden behind clouds, now broke through, casting long, late afternoon shadows. Buster's old eyes, unaccustomed to the bright, unfiltered light, blinked repeatedly. He was tired, his muscles aching from the unaccustomed exertion and the lingering tension of fear. He missed the soft carpet, the familiar armchair, the quiet predictability of his house. Just as he was contemplating turning back, a new scent reached him, different from the wild aromas of the lane. It was a warm human scent, mingled with something sweet and earthy, like freshly baked bread and rich soil. He paused, his ears swiveling. Around a gentle curve in the lane, nestled amongst a small cluster of trees, stood a quaint, brightly painted cottage. Smoke curled lazily from its chimney, and a small, vibrant garden bloomed in front. As Buster watched, a figure emerged from the cottage, a woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile, carrying a small watering can. She was humming softly, a tuneless melody that was both new and comforting. She spotted Buster almost immediately. Her humming stopped, and her smile softened even further. "Well, hello there, old friend," she said, her voice a gentle murmur that immediately soothed Buster's frayed nerves. It wasn't the voice of his memories, but it held a similar warmth, a familiar cadence of genuine affection. She moved slowly, deliberately, not rushing him, her movements calm and reassuring. She knelt down, extending a hand slowly, palm open, inviting him closer. "You look a little lost, don't you?" she murmured, her eyes full of sympathy. Buster hesitated. His instincts screamed caution. He hadn't interacted with a real human in years, only their echoes. But there was something in her gaze, a profound gentleness that disarmed him. He took a tentative step forward, then another, drawn by the genuine warmth radiating from her. He sniffed her outstretched hand, detecting the sweet scent of soap and the fainter aroma of the baked bread. It was a smell of kindness, of home, of something familiar in its unfamiliarity. He nudged his head against her palm, a small, almost involuntary gesture of acceptance. The touch was real, solid, and wonderfully warm. It was a sensation that transcended any memory, a comfort that belonged entirely to the present moment. He whined softly, a sound of relief and tentative hope. For the first time since leaving his house, Buster felt a flicker of true, unadulterated peace. He wasn't alone anymore. He had found a connection, a bridge between his solitary past and the vast, uncertain present. The woman, whose name Buster would soon learn was Sarah, continued to stroke his head gently, her fingers working their magic behind his ears, a spot he hadn't realized he missed having scratched. He leaned into her touch, a deep, contented sigh rumbling in his chest. "You must be hungry, little one," she said, her voice a soft melody. "Come on, let's get you something to eat." She rose slowly, and Buster, without hesitation, followed her towards the quaint cottage. He remembered the feeling of following his humans into the kitchen, the anticipation of mealtime, the clatter of bowls. This felt similar, yet profoundly different, because it was happening **. The The smells inside Sarah's cottage were a delightful assault on his senses. The rich aroma of stew simmering on the stove, the sweet scent of herbs from a windowsill garden, and a faint, comforting whiff of wood smoke. It was a tapestry of present-day warmth and sustenance, far more immediate and potent than any memory. Sarah led him into her cozy kitchen, a bright, cheerful space filled with rustic charm. She retrieved a bowl, not his familiar chipped ceramic one, but a clean, white one. Then she opened a bag of kibble, its scent familiar yet fresher, richer than the stale, uneaten food still sitting in his old house. She added a spoonful of what smelled like cooked meat, a delicious, enticing aroma that made Buster's stomach rumble audibly. He watched with wide, eager eyes as she placed the bowl on the floor. "There you go, old boy," she said, stepping back to give him space. For a moment, Buster hesitated. He had eaten countless meals in his memories, felt the satisfaction of a full belly. But this was real. The steam rising from the food, the rich, complex aroma, the tangible presence of a full bowl before him. It was overwhelming. He took a tentative sniff, then another, his nose twitching with delight. The hunger, a dull ache he hadn't fully acknowledged, now asserted itself with undeniable force. He lowered his head and began to eat, slowly at first, then with increasing gusto. The taste was exquisite, far more nuanced and satisfying than any remembered flavor. The texture of the kibble, the savory richness of the meat, it was a feast for his forgotten senses. He ate until the bowl was clean, then licked it meticulously, savoring every last morsel. When he finally lifted his head, his tail gave a tentative wag, a small but significant gesture of contentment. Sarah smiled, her eyes crinkling at the corners. "Kid boy," she praised, and the words, spoken in the present, filled him with a warmth that transcended the comforting echoes of his past. This shared meal was more than just food. It was a bridge. It was the first tangible connection to the present world that had truly nourished him, body and soul. It was a reminder that sustenance didn't only come from the past. It could also be found fresh and vibrant in the here and now. For Buster, the dog who lived on memories, this was a profound revelation, a gentle awakening to a new kind of hunger and a new kind of fulfillment. After his satisfying meal, Buster felt a profound sense of peace settle over him, a contentment that was both new and deeply familiar. Sarah offered him a clean, soft blanket on the kitchen floor, and he curled up on it, his old body sighing with relief. He closed his eyes, not to conjure a memory, but simply to rest, to process the day's astonishing events. As he drifted into a light doze, he felt a gentle touch on his head, a soft, rhythmic stroking that flowed from his ears down to his neck. It was Sarah's hand. Unlike the phantom touches of his memories, this was real, solid, radiating a warmth that seeped into his fur and bone. It wasn't just a physical sensation. It was an emotional balm, a profound connection to another living being. In his memory world, touches were perfect, idealized. They never wavered, never faltered, but this touch was different. It carried the subtle imperfections of reality, the faint roughness of skin, the slight variations in pressure. And yet, it was precisely these imperfections that made it so real, so undeniably present. He leaned into her hand, pressing his head against her palm, feeling the steady pulse beneath her skin. He could hear her soft breathing, a soothing rhythm that resonated with his own. This was not the silence of his empty house, nor the chaotic symphony of the lane. This was the quiet intimacy of shared space, the unspoken language of comfort and companionship. He remembered the countless times his human family had stroked his fur, scratched his favorite spots, offered him comfort with their hands. Those memories were precious, ingrained in his very soul. But this new touch, this present warmth, was not a replacement. It was an addition, a fresh chapter in the story of his life. It was a reminder that love and connection weren't confined to the past. They could bloom anew, even in the most unexpected of circumstances. He felt a deep, almost forgotten sense of trust emerging within him. He had always trusted his human family implicitly, but that trust had been born of years of shared history. This trust was different. It was instantaneous, a recognition of innate kindness. Sarah wasn't trying to pull him from his past to erase his memories. She was simply offering him comfort in the present, a gentle hand extended without expectation. He opened his eyes slightly, gazing up at her. Her face was soft, her eyes warm and understanding. There was no pity there, only a quiet acceptance. He could almost read her thoughts. Asterisk, you're safe here, old boy. Asterisk, he nudged her hand again. A silent thank you, a profound acknowledgement of the solace she was providing. The warmth of her hand was more than just physical. It was a beacon, a gentle guide leading him away from the shadows of loneliness and towards the light of present-day connection. For Buster, it was a revelation. The most powerful memory could not compare to the simple, profound reality of a kind hand offering comfort in the here and now. It was a touch that promised not just safety, but a future. Over the next few days, Buster began to cautiously explore his new surroundings at Sarah's cottage. Each morning, after a breakfast that was always warm and satisfying, Sarah would open the back door, inviting him into her small, vibrant garden. This garden was nothing like the overgrown, neglected one at his old house. Here, every plant was tended with care, every flower bloomed with purpose. The air was alive with new scents, the sweet perfume of honeysuckle, the sharp, refreshing aroma of mint, the earthy richness of freshly turned soil. He spent hours sniffing at the various plants, his old nose delighting in the complexity of these new living fragrances. He discovered a patch of lavender, its delicate, calming scent a soothing balm to his senses. He found a bed of marigolds, their peppery, slightly bitter aroma, a surprising but intriguing discovery. Each scent was a fresh data point, a new piece of information about a world he was only just beginning to truly perceive. The sounds of Sarah's cottage were also a revelation. There was the gentle clinking of dishes as she prepared meals, the soft rustle of newspaper as she read, the rhythmic hum of her sewing machine as she worked on her various projects. These weren't the echoes of past sounds. They were the live, immediate soundtrack of a present-day home. He heard the gentle chirping of sparrows building a nest in the eaves, the busy buzzing of bees among the flowers, the distant, muffled laughter of children playing in a nearby park. These sounds were clear, vibrant, and utterly real. They filled the space not with emptiness, but with the quiet hum of life. He would often lie by Sarah's feet as she worked, simply listening, soaking in the ambient sounds of her peaceful existence. He still closed his eyes sometimes, and his memories would flicker, soft and comforting. He would recall the scent of his old home, the laughter of his past family. But now, these memories were accompanied by the vivid, immediate sensations of Sarah's home. The new scents and sounds didn't erase his past. They complemented it, adding new layers to his understanding of the world. He was learning to appreciate the beauty of the present, to find joy in the immediate, tangible reality around him. One afternoon, Sarah took him for a short walk down the lane, not in search of anything, but simply to explore. Buster, initially hesitant, soon found himself trotting alongside her, his tail giving a tentative, happy wag. He sniffed at every bush, every tree, discovering a whole new world of olfactory information. He saw other dogs, leashed and walking with their owners, and though he didn't interact with them, their presence was a novel and intriguing sight. He felt the soft breeze ruffling his fur, the warmth of the sun on his back, the cool dampness of the earth beneath his paws. These were not memories. They were experiences, vibrant and undeniable. He was becoming a participant in the present, not just an observer of the past. The world was unfolding before him, rich with new sensations, and Buster, the dog who lived on memories, was slowly, cautiously beginning to live in the now. As days turned into weeks, Buster found himself living in a delicate balance between two worlds. His memories, once his sole sustenance, were now cherished companions, visited with a gentle reverence rather than a desperate need. He would still lie by the fireplace in Sarah's cottage, and in his mind, he could conjure the warmth of his old home's hearth, the crackle of wood, the faces of his past family. But now, when he opened his eyes, he saw Sarah quietly reading in her armchair, a soft blanket draped over her lap, and felt a different, equally profound warmth. The memories no longer felt like fading photographs he desperately clung to. Instead, they were like well-loved stories, rich in detail that he could revisit and enjoy without the underlying current of fear that they might disappear. He understood now that remembering wasn't about holding on to something that was gone. It was about honoring what had been, carrying it within him as a part of who he was. And who he was changing. He was still Buster, the dog who remembered, but he was also Buster, the dog who lived asterisk. He found joy in the simple, everyday moments with Sarah, the morning routine of breakfast, the afternoon walks in the garden or down the lane, the quiet evenings spent by her side. These weren't grand, dramatic events, but they were real, tangible moments that were slowly, steadily building a new tapestry of present-day memories. He learned to anticipate Sarah's movements, to recognize the subtle inflections in her voice, to understand her routines. He would greet her with a soft tail wag when she returned from an errand, a genuine, present moment expression of affection. He found himself responding to her commands, not out of old habit, but out of a new, conscious desire to please and connect. He even started to play, something he hadn't done in years. Sarah had a soft, worn tennis ball, and she would gently toss it across the lawn. Buster, initially hesitant, would slowly trot after it, pick it up and bring it back, a flicker of youthful joy returning to his old eyes. The physical act of play, the feeling of the ball in his mouth, the satisfaction of a shared moment, these were entirely new sensations, unburdened by the weight of the past. He realized that the world wasn't a static collection of past events to be replayed. It was a dynamic, ever-changing river, and he could choose to dip his paws into its current, to feel the flow of new experiences. His memories were the solid ground he stood on, the foundation of his being. But the present was the vibrant, flowing water, offering new paths, new discoveries. He was finding a beautiful equilibrium, a way to honor his past without being consumed by it, to embrace the present without forgetting what had come before. For Buster, the balance of these two worlds was not just survival. It was a flourishing, a quiet, profound testament to the enduring capacity for life and joy, even in old age. He was learning to carry his past gently while living fully in his now. One crisp morning, as Buster lay dozing by the kitchen window, bathed in a real present-day sunbeam, Sarah returned from her weekly visit to the village. She wasn't alone. Trailing behind her on a loose leash was a small, scruffy terrier mix, no bigger than a shoebox, with mismatched ears and eyes that darted nervously about. Buster lifted his head, a low growl rumbling in his chest. His old instincts, long dormant, flared up. This was new, unknown. This was an intrusion. Sarah, sensing his apprehension, spoke softly. "Buster, this is Pip. He's a rescue, very shy. He needs a home." She gently guided Pip into the kitchen, keeping a careful distance between the two dogs. Pip, for his part, seemed equally wary, his small body pressed close to Sarah's leg, his tail tucked tight. He cast a nervous glance at Buster, then quickly averted his gaze. Buster studied the newcomer. Pip was a whirlwind of nervous energy, his small body trembling slightly, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and apprehension. He smelled of the shelter, of other dogs, of uncertainty. It was a stark contrast to Buster's calm, memory-laden world. For a moment, Buster felt a pang of resentment. His peaceful, balanced existence with Sarah was now threatened by this jittery, unfamiliar presence. He had grown accustomed to the quiet companionship, the singular focus of Sarah's attention. Now he would have to share. Sarah knelt between them, stroking Buster's head reassuringly, then offering Pip a gentle scratch behind the ears. "We're going to be a family, boys," she whispered. Buster watched Pip carefully. He remembered his own puppyhood, the boundless energy, the playful nips, the endless curiosity. He remembered the feeling of being the smallest, the most vulnerable. He saw a flicker of that same vulnerability in Pip's darting eyes. A tiny spark of empathy, a feeling he hadn't truly felt for another living creature in years, stirred within him. He slowly rose, his old legs creaking, and took a tentative step towards Pip. Pip flinched, pressing himself harder against Sarah. Buster stopped, lowered his head, and gave a soft, reassuring sniff. He let out a low, almost imperceptible whine, a sound of gentle invitation. It wasn't a challenge. It was an offering of peace. Pip, after a long moment of intense scrutiny, slowly uncurled a little. He lifted his head, his nose twitching, and returned Buster's sniff, a tentative, almost imperceptible gesture of acceptance. The two dogs stood there for a moment, an old sage and a nervous pup, exchanging silent greetings, bridging the gap between their different pasts. Sarah watched them, a soft smile gracing her lips. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she also knew the profound capacity for connection that animals possessed. Buster had found a new life in the present, and now he was being asked to share that life, to extend his newfound peace to another. It was a new challenge, a new chapter, but one that held the promise of even deeper connection and a richer, more vibrant future. The introduction of Pip into the cottage brought a new, lively dynamic that Buster initially found challenging. Pip, with his puppy-like energy and boundless curiosity, was a stark contrast to Buster's calm, reflective demeanor. He chased butterflies in the garden, barked at squirrels, and often nudged Buster with his nose, inviting him to play. At first, Buster would merely observe, a faint sigh escaping his lips. His memories of playful puppyhood were vivid, but his old body was no longer capable of such youthful exuberance. Yet Pip's relentless optimism was infectious. Slowly, cautiously, Buster began to participate. He would lie in the sun while Pip dug imaginary treasures in the flower beds, lending a watchful eye. He would follow Pip on their walks with Sarah, acting as a quiet, steady presence, a silent mentor to the energetic pup. He even found himself joining in on the occasional game of tug-of-war with an old rope toy, his old jaws surprisingly strong as he playfully wrestled with Pip. These weren't memories. These were new experiences, new sensations, building blocks for a new tapestry of present-day recollections. He felt the warmth of Pip's small body pressed against his as they napped by the fire, the soft rumble of Pip's snores, the gentle nudge of a cold nose seeking comfort. These were tangible, immediate connections, forming a new kind of warmth within him. Sarah encouraged their bond, praising them both, ensuring that Buster still received his individual attention, his quiet moments of shared companionship. She understood that Buster's journey was unique, and that while he was embracing the present, his past remained an integral part of him. But now, his past was being enriched by new layers of joy. He remembered his old family, their laughter, their love. And now, he was experiencing a new kind of family, a new kind of laughter, a new kind of love. The children of his past memories, once vibrant and real, now had a new, energetic counterpart in Pip. He watched Pip grow, just as he had watched the children grow, a silent witness to the unfolding of life. The cottage, once a quiet sanctuary, was now filled with the gentle hum of two dogs, two distinct personalities sharing space and companionship. There were new rituals, shared naps, synchronized head tilts at the sound of Sarah's voice, quiet moments of mutual grooming. These small, everyday interactions were forming the bedrock of a new, rich life for Buster. He was no longer just living on memories. He was actively creating them. Each day brought a new anecdote, a fresh sensation, a vibrant moment to add to the ever-growing collection of his life. He was learning that while the past was a precious treasure, the present was a living, breathing gift, constantly offering new joys and connections. Buster, the old dog, was building new memories, not just for himself, but for the future. For a little terrier mix with mismatched ears who was slowly, surely becoming his truest companion. Years passed, and Buster, though undeniably older, was also undeniably happier. His silver muzzle had grown whiter, his steps a little slower, but his eyes, once solely focused on the distant past, now sparkled with a vibrant awareness of the present. He still revisited his memories, sometimes spending a quiet afternoon reliving a particularly joyful moment from his youth. The sunbeam in his old house, the scent of his human's hand, the sound of children's laughter. These were still precious, still vivid, but they no longer held him captive. They were anchors, not chains. He understood now that memories were not meant to be a substitute for life, but a treasured part of it. They were the roots that grounded him, allowing him to grow new branches, to blossom in the present. His life with Sarah and Pip was rich and full. He had found a new family, a new home, and a profound sense of belonging that was entirely rooted in the here and now. He watched Pip, now a confident, playful adult dog, still full of boundless energy, and felt a quiet pride. He had guided Pip in his own gentle way, showing him the simple joys of a loving home, a stable life. He had passed on the unspoken wisdom of an old dog who had seen many seasons. The cottage, once a stranger's dwelling, was now truly his home. He knew every creak of the floorboards, every scent in the garden, every rhythm of Sarah's day. He would often lie by the fireplace, not just conjuring warmth, but feeling the real, present heat radiating from the logs, listening to the actual crackle of the fire, with Pip curled up beside him, a warm, breathing presence. He would look at Sarah, her face lined with gentle smiles and quiet contentment, and know that he was loved, truly and unconditionally, in this moment. The fear of fading memories had long since dissipated. He realized that even if a memory grew a little duller, a little more distant, it didn't diminish the love it represented. And more importantly, he was creating new memories every single day, memories of shared meals, of sun-drenched naps, of quiet walks, of the comforting weight of Pip's head on his paw. These new memories were just as precious, just as sustaining as the old ones. Buster had come full circle. He had started his life surrounded by love and warmth, then retreated into the past when that love seemed to vanish. Now, he had rediscovered it, not by clinging to what was gone, but by opening his heart to what was present. He was a testament to resilience, to the enduring capacity of the heart to find joy, even in the twilight of life. He was Buster, the dog who had lived on memories, but who now, in the gentle embrace of his new life, truly lived. In the now, a wise, contented soul carrying his past with grace and embracing every precious moment of his vibrant present. His journey had taught him that while memories are indeed treasures, life itself is the greatest gift of all.